So every morning, millions of people wake up and do some version of the same ritual. A vitamin here, a probiotic yogurt there, maybe turmeric in your coffee because someone on the internet said it was good for inflammation. And most of them have absolutely no idea whether any of it is actually doing anything. Hi, I'm Chinmay, a food technologist, and honestly, the gap between what people believe and what the science actually says is exactly why I want to make this video. Here's a question researchers are genuinely spending millions trying to answer right now. Can food fight cancer? Not in a headline designed to sell you something in that way, but in a serious pharmaceutical companies are watching in that sense. Because the live bacteria in your yogurt, which is probiotics, are being studied for roles in tumor immunity and gut health in ways that would have seemed far fetched even 10 years ago. And that's the kind of whole story of nutraceuticals. The science got interesting faster than the regulation did. So let's first understand what are nutraceuticals. The word is like a mashup of nutrition and pharmaceutical squashed together. A food scientist called Stephen was the one who coined it in 1989 because he needed a word for something that didn't fit anywhere. It's not quite a food, not quite medicine, somewhere in between. Think of it as a spectrum. On one end, it's your dinner, and on the other end, it's your prescription. So, nutraceuticals live in that messy, fascinating between, in the middle, like the probiotics, omega 3, the curcumin, which is an active compound in turmeric, plant sterols, dietary fiber, all of them which are food derived, all of them have documented health benefits or effects which are beyond just keeping you alive. And that middle ground is now worth close to $1 trillion and it's growing fast. When we talk about the market for this in 2021, it was around 454 billion. By 2030, it is projected to be nearly double, which is 991 billion. To put that into perspective, that's bigger than the whole global film, music, and gaming industries combined. And the center of gravity right now is Asia Pacific, over 30% of the global market. And that makes sense because when you think about it, countries like China, Japan, and India have centuries of food as a medicine, tradition backed by their culture. But in case of West, the growth is being driven by something slightly different, which is people are becoming more spectacle of pharmaceutical side effects and they want to get ahead of illness before it happens. So there is a different starting point, but it's the same destination. Before we get into what nutraceuticals actually do, I need to say something that I genuinely wish more people understood, which is natural does not mean effective. Natural does not mean it's safe. Because, for example, if you take arsenic, is also natural. The dose makes the difference, always. The fact that something comes from plant doesn't tell you whether the amount in your capsule reaches your bloodstream. It doesn't tell you whether the study was run on mice or humans, and absolutely doesn't tell you whether the product on the shelf contains what the label claims. So, knowing this doesn't make you cynical, but it makes you a better consumer. So, please understand natural and effective are not the same thing. So, what does the actual evidence say about these things can do? There are three areas where the science is compelling enough to take seriously. The first thing the nutraceutical does is it fights diseases. Specific, it is documented effects on specific conditions. Second is it reduces chronic inflammation, which, if you know anything about how modern diseases work, it's really a big deal. And the third one is like everyone is talking about, which is longevity. The idea that certain compounds might slow the biological aging itself. The last one is what makes pharmaceutical companies sit up and pay attention. Let's go through each of these one by one, starting with fighting diseases. So, omega 3 fatty acids, they are reducing cardiovascular risk. That's a well established in clinical research. Dietary fibers are lowering LDL cholesterol, which also has established clinical literature. Certain probiotics are showing up in serious research around obesity and also metabolic diseases. Calcium and vitamin D for bone density, the evidence base is very strong. And then there is cancer. Cancer, there are still early stage, there are still a lot of unknowns, but the relationship between gut microbiome and tumor immunity is one of the most active research areas in food science right now. What's also changed in the food companies are now funding clinical trials and filing patents. And that's not a marketing shift, that's a structural change in how the industry sees itself. And it matters if you are a food technologist or people who are working in food area, and as well as consumers, that you know how the structure of industries are changing. Next is it helps to fight inflammation. There are chronic inflammation is worth understanding because it's the silent driver behind most of the serious conditions killing people today, such as heart disease, type 2 diabetes, certain cancer, rheumatoid arthritis, and this is where plant compounds like phytochemicals becomes genuinely interesting, like curcumin from turmeric, EGCG from green tea. So these have been shown in peer-reviewed research to interrupt the inflammatory process at the biological level and not masking just the symptom but addressing the mechanism. So I'll keep saying this throughout that dose matters enormously, which is the amount in your morning latte is almost certainly not the amount used in the study. So, but the underlying science is real and it's solid. The next is the longevity. This is honestly the part that gets me most excited, and I admit that some bias is there because it's what the frontier is. At the cellular level, aging is largely about oxidative stress. Your cells get damaged by free radicals faster than your body can repair them. So, there are certain polyphenols and antioxidants found in the food that have been shown to slow that process. with early but genuinely compelling implications for conditions like Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and cardiovascular diseases. Here, the goal isn't about immortality, it's something more practical and more meaningful, that is, like getting sick less for less of your life and staying functional longer. That's what longevity research in nutraceuticals is actually chasing. And that's why even pharmaceutical players are watching this space very closely. All right, this is the part I think is most important to say clearly because the industry certainly isn't going to say it for me. There are five real problems. The first is that almost it has no regulation. In most markets, nutraceutical companies can launch a product and make health claims with minimal safety testing. That's not a feature of well-functioning market, and that's a gap that puts people or like consumers at risk. Second is the weak evidence. A lot of products are sitting on one underpowered study or animal research that never translated to humans. The third is there is no standardization. There are two curcumin capsules from different brands can contain widely different amount of actual curcumin. The label is not quality guaranteed. The fourth is consumer confusion. Most people genuinely can't distinguish between nutraceutical, a supplement, a functional food, and a pharmaceutical drug. And that confusion is profitable for the wrong people. And the fifth one is genuinely shocked me when I looked into the research, which is the adulteration fraud. There are so many documented cases, bodybuilding supplements secretly containing undisclosed steroids, weight loss pills hiding prescription appetite suppressants. So, products which have worked, but not because of what was on the label. People have been hospitalized. So, this is not hypothetical, but it is being done, the adulteration fraud. So here's what I want to leave you with from all of that. The industry is not going to protect you. The regulation isn't tight enough to do it automatically, which means being an informed consumer isn't extra nice, but it's genuinely important and it's learnable. Understanding how to read a claim, how to evaluate the evidence, how to know what question to even ask, that's a skill. It's one of the most practically useful things someone with food science background can actually share. So that's what I'm trying to do here. How can you be a smart consumer? Four things I can actually apply. The first thing is look for third party certification. NSF, USP, informed sport. So these are if you see these seals of an independent lab, it has been tested and what's in the product. So this seal will not guarantee that the product will work for you, but it does mean that it won't secretly contain any dangerous ingredients that will affect you. So that's what it will confirm. Second is always match the dose to the evidence. If a study has shown a benefit at a 500 mg of curcumin, and in a product, if you're getting it with 10 microgram, is essentially just decorative, right? So read the study, not just the label. The third one is treat phrases like clinically proven or scientifically formulated as marketing language, not as a regulatory language. Whenever you see such things, please ask yourself proven by whom, in how many people, for how long. So these are the questions that will give you a proper answer whether you need to buy this product or not. And fourth is talk to a healthcare professional, not about everything, but about anything you are taking consistently. A group discussion like with the general practitioner or registered dietitian can tell you in about 5 minutes whether something is likely to help you in a specific situation or just cost you some money. So nutraceuticals are real. The science behind the best of them is genuinely exciting and still developing. But the market is also exploding. People's instinct to be proactive about their health is not wrong, but the industry is highly unregulated, inconsistent, and in places where actively deceptive. So the gap between what nutraceutical can do in a research context and what specific product will do for you, it's a gap where billions of dollars of consumers' money disappear every year. So know the difference, read the evidence, buy smart. If any of this changed how you think about what's in your supplement drawer, please subscribe because we are continuing the Top Food Technology Trends 2026 series in upcoming months as well. So there is also a video which I have made on alternative proteins, which was uploaded the previous month, and it talks you through about everything about alternative proteins. And do drop a comment what nutraceuticals you swear by and think is completely overrated. So I read every single comment. So this was all about nutraceuticals and how the industry is growing, where the food industry are concentrating right now, and there will be upcoming video with the next food technology trend of the year. So please do subscribe the channel if you found it interactive, informative, and precise. Thank you.